Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and we are here and we are starting to go. And we're just gonna do a couple different musings around the league, and just kind of take it one step at a time and go from there. So, first things first, I'm gonna be talking about a couple different topics today, and kind of put this out there before the Raptors game is about to, basically jump off. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk about the Raptors. Going to talk about a few topics with that, and then I'm going to talk about few of the other overall league wide news items. So, yes, before we get into it, we got to pay some bills. Like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get started in a couple seconds. Hopefully, you are having a good day yourself. So, first things first, news in Raptors land. Aside from the fact that the stuff that I've already talked about with the Raptors having struggled in their last 4 or 5 games and kind of struggling to kind of get their offense out of the mud, so to speak. I mean, we've seen it on this channel with Brandon Ingram obviously struggling at times. And the Raptors, in turn, struggling to get the ball to Brandon Ingram. They are relying very heavily on his ability to get off. Now, obviously, Scotty throughout the stretch, he has also had some up and down games, but overall, he's been the most consistent Raptor thus far this year. And so, what does that really tell me? Well, it tells me, based on the things that we've talked about here, that Scotty is still struggling to create his own offense. But when he has opportunities that are essentially given to him, when he has uh, the someone helping to make his life easier from an offensive standpoint, he's able to thrive and succeed and capitalize on the mistakes of the defense. And we see that kind of play out. So there's a couple interesting quotes. Darko Rajakovic actually made an interesting quote, and the quote was essentially about whether or not essentially, the Raptors fans, so to speak, should be more or less patient than they currently are or have been. And I would argue that I think that there's a lot of patience that has been had. He as in Darko essentially outlined that Raptors fans need to be a little bit more relaxed because it's the second year of a rebuild. To me, that's usually something that could kind of cut the mustard, but it doesn't quite cut the mustard today. And the reason why I say that it doesn't cut the mustard is that while I mean, first of all, you were flying high to start the season. That also helped to adjust expectations. But more importantly, I look at it beyond just right now in this stretch. You went and got Brandon Ingram on this team last year, and you got him with the conclusion where a lot of Raptor fans came, and a lot of the biggest Raptor fans came out. Maybe not myself, but others came out and said, "Hey, look, I think that this team can win 50 games. I think that this team is a top six team, and I think that this team in a weak East could potentially." You heard some people suggesting that they could contend, or at least look. To me, weak East means that you can make the second round at least. Now, in this recent stretch, while it's only a 5 game stretch, 4 game stretch, the challenge is you see a lot of these recent trends, and the trends are starting to kind of bubble up to the surface. And for that reason, and this we will see if this actually continues on through today's game. For that reason, you're going to have some problems and some challenges moving forward, unless those holes and challenges are rectified and fixed. So one of those things is obviously a backup big. Banning a backup big would be beneficial to the Raptors. It would help a lot, and it would help a lot of just kind of taking the miles off of like Scotty to sometimes play those small ball center roles. They haven't done it too much. I feel like he doesn't really want to play the small ball center. I don't disagree with him. Um, and then also it puts less onus on Jakob Pertl. Now, here's where I kind of stand before, and we'll see. I did invite Beyond the locker room. Hopefully, he's able to make it. But if not, we're just gonna kind of keep on trucking along. Um, One of the things that I'm noticing is that if they get a backup big, right? Because everyone seems to focus on the backup big. 1 second, folks. 1 second. So, as I was saying, getting a backup big would be beneficial, yes, but it doesn't solve the ultimate problem because you're still going to rely on Pirtle, who is struggling to play games really right now and consistent games at a consistent level. And so if you're not going to solve that, essentially you need an upgrade on Pirtle to turn him into a backup because otherwise you're just going to run into the situation where you're relying on a backup big too much. They've been trying these half measures and I was listening to I believe it was Louis Zatzman. He made a point where the Raptors can kind of basically I'm going to paraphrase here. Essentially, like they could be just fine without that. Just fine is great. Just fine isn't thriving. So if you're going with like the backup big option, right, and you're getting someone who's going to come off the bench, and they then you have to over rely on that person, you're going to run into the problem where you're going to elevate that person. Welcome, coach. Welcome, welcome. You're going to have to elevate that person above their core competencies, so to speak, in a way where you're going to rely on them way too much, more than you need to for a player that's a potential bench piece. So that's where I would go with that. We're obviously going to get into some of the stats and some of the things today as we kind of continue and mosey along here. But one of the things that I did want to bring up at some point, as I believe Beyond's going to be joining me fairly shortly, is I wanted to get into a few of the stats. Now, obviously, in the past 10 games, and that because that's kind of where we are looking at. Now, I'm not sure if it's last 10 games of the season or the last 10 games that these. No, actually, it is the last 10 games. I'm going to look at the touches. So and then I'm going to bring in Beyond fairly shortly here. But as we look into the touches, we're going to see again some of these patterns still emerge. Now, one of the patterns that we're noticing emerge is that Scotty Barnes is now ahead of Manuel quickly for once, and we're going to bring Beyond in here. Welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. Can you hear me, Beyond? Maybe not. I can hear you. But anyways, continuing on, while we wait for Beyond to kind of
Can
to
you hear
hear
me?
us. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry.
So as basically what we're noticing is that Emmanuel quickly is still having the most amount of touches in a 10 game stretch. This is the most recent 10 game stretch that I'm looking at, Beyond. Um,
Yeah.
so Emmanuel quickly is still like number two in this 10 game stretch, and you're seeing Brandon Ingram lower. Now, Brandon Ingram comes with some deficiencies. He's not the perfect offensive player, and we see that. Warn people about it, blah, blah, blah. Welcome to Basketball Rewind. Hello. But with that being said, it still doesn't mean that he shouldn't be higher up on this list. Any thoughts to this? I have a list of topics that we can kind of mosey along through. I was starting with the Raptors, and I started talking about how I'm not buying the Darko excuse of saying this is a second year of a rebuild.
Wait, I hope you started with that.
I did.
Our man Mouth posted that one, man. I just almost rolled off the couch hearing that. It's like, wait, we're back the other R word?
Yeah, I
Wait,
thought
we're
you
back
meant
the R
retreat,
word?
but it does sound like they're retreating.
Yeah, rebuild again. I thought we are all in.
Yeah. If you're saying that you can't both be saying it's a weak East and all this type of stuff, or having the media members discern that stuff out, and then at the same
Wow.
time, it's a weak East, and then at the same time we're rebuilding. Which is it? Pick a lane, stick to it.
These
Your
guys
thoughts.
should be these guys should be in politics, not sports, man. Seriously. I mean, these guys are something else. Like they're unbelievable. It's like you guys sold this dream to these folks in this case here. Raptor fandom. Some of them come on here and chat with us. God bless you. You sold a bill of goods. Hey man, we're going for it. Top six. That's why we got Brandon Ingram. He's our closer. That's why we just hit Mamu, right? We've sacrificed the kids for this. We just talked about
Mm.
last week. We sacrificed the kids for all this. And now you're now telling me now, 20 some odd games in now, it's like, oh, no, no. This is part two of a rebuild. I don't see, based on what you're showing me here with the numbers and the touches, with the minutes and the touches, that don't seem like rebuilding type of stats.
So ignore the RJ Barrett touches just because he's only played one game.
Yeah.
Um, so let's. But this is the points per touch, so you can see who is the most efficient. Again, This is one game sample size, so it's not the most fairest thing. We can actually aggregate it over the whole season as well, just to compare and contrast. Right now, I put out a short. People definitely check out the shorts. But in the short, I talked about where the Raptors have been in the past 10 games with the efficiency landscape, and we are still booing our defense because of the changes that Darko has made. However, in terms of the not defense, we'll say in terms of the other side of the ball, the offense, we're 28th.
So if you just go back to the stats for a moment there, as an interesting little trend that's playing out here, right? Like this is if you know how the Raptors play, is very indicative by one particular stat. And
Mm.
it's average. I think it's called average. It's not coming up on mine yet, but average touches,
Is it average seconds per touch?
something like that. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
think it
so
is. So,
quickly as 5 seconds.
right.
So
This is
it goes quickly. Jamal, Chucky Hepburn.
Right. You guys want to know the philosophy of this coach? Look at that stat right there and see who has the ball the most amount of times by average. Then now another interesting stat, which I think I saw you guys organize a different way, but it's okay. If you look down here, look here at say Walter, Grady, and then put Jameson Battle. Essentially, it's the same number. So
Right
in
here.
other words, they're all supposed to be playing the same role. Now, you, myself, coach, if you had to look at those three players, one of the things are doing their own thing. Okay, would you think that Jameson Bell plays like Jacoby Walter and Grady Dick?
No.
Right, but yet the touches
Some
of the
people
averages
suggest they do, but no. Yeah,
they do.
it's basically between Lawson. Actually, it's Lawson, CMB, and Jameson Battle, but more or less
Right,
those guys. And there's not that much of a difference between them
but all the guards,
and here. All the
right,
guards are right here.
Ochai
All
right in there too. I think if you see him later on, he's about the same as well too.
Yeah, yeah.
What,
There's not a significant. There's not like a 1 second difference or almost a two
no,
second difference, right?
so when people go back and they want to dump on Grady or dump on Jacoby or whatever the case may be, or even CMB if they want to, look at what we're looking at here. How do you expect growth when all you're doing is giving them like about less than 2 seconds in this case to do something with a ball? And all
Mm.
these guys were all, quote, you want to call them alphas or top dudes in their programs. They weren't guys coming off the bench, a second or second round guys or undrafted dudes. Read the
No,
small. Like this is ridiculous. But this speaks to the coach though. This is what the coach thinks, man. Point guard centric. We do our thing. Chucky Hepburn got almost 5 seconds a touch. Think that through, folks. Okay.
we the rebuild is what I'm saying. Is what. But yeah, so it is definitely interesting to see some of these numbers. It doesn't kind of paint the entirety of what's going on here. But I think the point is right now the offense is bogged down. I will say something just about the Grady factor. Yeah, it's not all Grady's fault. That said, he needs to be a lot more decisive with the ball because he's at the point where it's like he's making concerning mistakes, like in the Knicks game. But I do want to talk about Pirtle really briefly because there's a the notion of a backup big would solve all problems. So let's talk about that because you were on another program talking about Anthony Davis. I put out a couple shorts about why the Raptors would be interested in Anthony Davis and also my whether or not I would go for it. I said I would not. But and I know as a Mavs fan, you're saying no. I can also just say I did put out from the Mavs fans' perspective or from the Mavericks' perspective why they might want to do that. So there are reasons why they want to trade Anthony Davis. I'm just going to say that. But aside from the reasons why, I just want to touch on Anthony Davis and then we'll touch on Pearl. Who do you want to talk about first?
If I gotta do anything besides talk about Pirtle, I always take the other options. So I'll talk about Anthony
Okay.
Davis.
So Anthony Davis. The obvious question is he an upgrade? Hell yes. Does he actually play more games? Hell yes. Which is crazy. For a man in street clothes, he's in street clothes less. Here is the challenge of Anthony Davis. You as a Mavericks fan, because apparently, I want to give you the floor. Do you think Anthony Davis creates his own offense, or is he better not creating his own offense?
He's better not creating his own offense. Anthony Davis, if Anthony Davis had his way, Anthony Davis would just like to shoot 17-foot jump shots all day long.
Does that
If he
sound
got what,
familiar?
yeah, exactly. If he got his way, I think what had him annoyed a bit in this case here, Darvin Ham and then definitely JJ wanted to play him through the post. In Dallas, he got the opportunity because he didn't have to play center. And he got to pop and shoot jump shots all day long. Now, to some extent, that can work in LA and in Dallas because you have, in this case here, big wings that will play in the post to give you a post presence. Cooper Flag plays is back the basket already quite a bit for a rookie.
True.
LeBron James, obviously a good post player, obviously it's understatement. So you can get away and reverse it and let him do what he does out there if you choose to. On this
Right.
team, there is no real post player in this case here for him to get those looks with. He would have to be the post player.
Right. Right.
You know, and I guess on the
He
other side of it,
yeah.
the Raptor fans are assuming Pirtle's going or Pirtle because I was a Dallas fan. I want no interest in Pirtle.
Yeah, I mean, the only argument for Pirtle, if I may, is is number one, you get off the money fast. A lot of this is from Dallas is just getting off the money faster and making it into more bite sized, more manageable pieces. That's really what it comes down to. So Pirtle's non guaranteed down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Cool,
But okay,
right?
I'll throw,
You know,
yeah, yeah, but I'll throw this out. You, I mentioned this on
and I'm
the.
not saying that like Pirtle makes the deal go
No,
round.
no,
I'm
no,
just
no. I want to get your thoughts because you're more in the contracts and the money
mm,
and stuff like that. So, but I'm going to get down the floor and let me ask you. Okay, Lively's coming up for his rookie deal
in a year from now.
in a year.
Yep.
I think we're safe to say it's probably he's going to get re-upped.
Possibly. What I will say is
Okay,
that his money
I
is
would
not going to
say
be
it's
very
pretty
big.
fair enough, but I think he'll be a Maverick. Let's put it that way. Wherever that
Yeah, yeah,
number ends up
yeah.
being, fine.
I only say that because once again he is injured for another year.
I hear
Uh,
you. These fellas need to eat some ground provisions. I ain't sure what's going on with these dudes anymore. But anyhow, but that's a whole other discussion another day.
Welcome,
When it
Will.
comes to Gafford, let me put it this way. I did remember Gafford's deal in this game. PJ got up the last year. Gafford, I think, is up this year, right?
I believe he was re-upped, but yeah,
He's re
he
up
has like
too.
another year
Okay.
left.
So my point is this: Gafford, Lively, was thrown in PJ. Is Pirtle better than any of those dudes?
Um, no, but it's not about those dudes, right? The idea is that like number one, you have to get to the money, and really, it's the RJ like and managing that from a Dallas perspective of how you get there. And then obviously Pirtle is non-guaranteed, so that's really what it comes down to. But to another thing is that like none of those dudes that you just mentioned are healthy right now.
Right,
Like
but
as of
Pirtle's never
today,
healthy. Yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying if I'm
right.
gonna take
So
one dude in street clothes, I'm gonna take the dude that's not gonna be paying that I'm not gonna be paying like $63 million for.
yeah, no, I'm hearing you that, but I guess I want to also
From a
get the better.
Dallas perspective, this is
Yeah, I also want to get the
just
better
so everyone
player,
knows.
right? So I'm not going to pay a dude in this case here, and fair enough, you might say to get the money to move off it. That might be one reason why, but I'm not
Yeah.
changing a front court in this case. That I know in this case that is probably the most threatening thing to OKC at the moment if they're healthy.
So
Would you?
so I just sorry to interrupt. I just want to say so Daniel Gafford has his money really truly starts next year.
Next year? I
So
knew
his
he said
money
next.
hasn't even started yet. It's
Right,
54 million over 3 years. So his contract's up in 2029. Just
right. That's a
putting it
better
out there.
deal than Pirtle, just if folks realize.
Not disagreeing here. I'm just
Right.
saying,
No,
that
I hear you. I guess what I'm saying is, if I'm looking from the Maverick standpoint, I think you're hitting the right person. I think that would intrigue the Mavericks the most, which is RJ. Actually, if I'm
yeah.
going to get RJ, then I could find some other math to get there without having to bring Pearl along for the ride.
Potentially.
Yeah,
I'm just I know that Anthony Davis is again, folks will know I'm not really trying to sell this because without the proper offensive point guard, you're going to run into problems. I'm just explaining it from both angles, just so the folks at home know. But
well, yeah.
But there are. My point is that there are reasons why the Mavericks may want to trade Anthony Davis, even if it isn't for a Raptors centric package. There's reasons
Mm-hmm.
why they want to like move that along and rebuild with more flexibility around Cooper Flag. The simplest way to look at it is next year. How much money do they have committed to their roster? Do you happen to know the number?
No, but I know it's going to be up there because the Kyrie just got re-signed too. So like it's,
300 million.
I know it's huge.
Okay, the cap is not even in the twos.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
you got a hefty number and getting
Yeah.
off that $64 million. And let's probably keep it a buck. Like, yes, Cooper Flag is nice, but I don't think he's ready to win like for prime time tomorrow. Uh he's just
I've
not.
seen, I've seen stranger things happen. I'll put it that way. If you have the
I
right
mean,
team.
a certain LeBron James wasn't ready to win in his second year
No, but a certain Tim Duncan was in this case here. Like I'm just saying.
with the David Robinson
Right.
and
Exactly. Well, the trade is David Robinson. Okay.
yeah, but David Robinson was a lot more healthier. Um
Fair
so
enough, but he wasn't as good as the guy that the trade. That's a fact. David Robinson is not good as Anthony Davis. He is
No,
not.
at prime health, no, I don't know.
No.
Like Anthony. So yeah, we've talked about this. Is what I'm saying. I'm talking about it from a Mavericks perspective
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
why
I hear
this
you.
keeps coming up. But yes, to your point, why would the Raptors even be interested in this? Even though it solves like one issue, but it doesn't solve all the issues, which is who is getting the ball and who's initiating. Like, can you initiate offense well enough to get Anthony Davis buckets near the hoop? Which is probably a no. Is the simplest answer.
But
So
they got another problem if they make that trade. They got they're still back in the same position. They got a bunch of B's and no A's. You know.
yeah, see, so I'm assuming this is from. So Will is putting some comments out there from Michael Green's offense, and he's talking about how we're confident, we're working on trying to box out, and we know that we need to box out, and sometimes it's long rebounds, which is very true. This is this is part of the crux of the issue of why your offensive because the way that you're kind of winning, and even when RJ was here, the way that you were kind of winning the offensive battle was through junking it up a little bit, to be honest.
Janky,
um
perhaps.
yeah, well, yeah, well, janky, but I purposefully use junking it up because it's junky offense. So yeah. I'm just wondering if this user means Shaden Sharp,
I know. I think he's talking
or
about
if there's a
Ron.
Sharp. Oh,
Ron.
Duron Sharp. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, okay. Yeah, Duron Sharp helps, but he doesn't solve the issue because he too is not really a center. He's technically a power forward. So then you're just loading up at that power forward spot, and the guy that you just drafted at number 9 gets further and further like pushed back because even Mamu, as a lot of people are finally realizing, is not a center. He can kind of LARP as a center here and there and do all right, but at the end of the day, he's not a center. So where does that kind of leave you?
Don't you find it
Um,
really defeating in this case? Your coach is talking about rebuilding, and you're like 4 games over 500. Like I don't know what you like. We kind of joked about that point, but really in a big sense, like that's that's not good, folks. That's not good, man.
yeah, I think that's a good jumping off point to discuss. You know, before I get into the Goga Batazi of it all. And there's another center. The coach saying that it's a rebuild, as I said at the very start of this, I it doesn't pass the sniff test. Like you go, ooh, right? It's like something ain't right there. Um, you know, so yeah. I'm by the way, I agree he should develop as a wing, but he needs some seasoning to get there. And even within that, it's like where you he needs we need to find ways to get him minutes. And Darko's in these close games. Darko is holding on for dear life to the
Right,
contract that he signed because
exactly. But we're
when the
rebuilding though.
yes, because when the contract is close, right? Or sorry, when the games are close, Darko is worried about his job, and so he's going to play the vets more, even if long term it makes more sense to play guys like CMB just to see what we have. So yeah, but yeah, beyond you were saying just to finish up the Mavericks point, you were saying.
No. I mean, I think for the most part, true to the I was looking at it from the Raptor side of things. Like, we have a bunch of B guys. If that trade were to go through, you have no dudes that shown to be alpha in this case here to kind of take the reins. A lot of leaderless dudes. You imagine a team with Brandon Ingram, Anthony Davis, Scotty Barnes, and pick or and IQ, and they have a 4-game losing streak. Can you imagine what that looks like?
So this is something that we haven't talked about enough and hasn't been out there, is that those guys in different situations. Let's leave Scotty out of this just for now. Just let's focus on everyone else that you're bringing in that's newer to the situation. Because I think Raptor fans can figure that one out for themselves, whether they're in or out. The other guys, Anthony Davis has not shown to be a leader in recent years in a way where he is the be all end all alpha and omega. However, he is so talented. I remember a coach asked me this a couple of years ago. He's like, "Would you trade Siakam for Anthony Davis?" I said, "Number one, Anthony Davis is not healthy enough. He is way more talented than Siakam, hands down, no question, zero question. But will he show up and will he play the center?"
That said, Siakam's given him the business quite a few times, though. You know what I mean?
There is that too. Trust me. Some of his best games have been against Anthony Davis. There is like one of his best games before the Knicks 50-point outing
Yeah,
was
like
a
a
game.
30
It was an untelevised game. I think it was Anthony Davis and Boogie Cousins, and it
yeah,
was the Pelicans. And people just go watch look at the box score. It's like a triple double. It was like
yeah.
one of the craziest things. But
Yeah,
yeah, anyway.
that when they gave him the nickname California Pascal fornication or whatever, and he had put down like he put these huge numbers against both LA teams, and he
Yes.
has scorched the Lakers a couple of years back. I think it's the 48 win year. My gosh,
Yes.
yeah.
Now, I'm going to put this thing. This is exactly what I'm trying to hint at and get at. So, thank you for spelling this out, which is that Anthony Davis does not want to play center, and Darko Royakovich, who's giving chains out and Wizard staffs out, is probably not going to be the best person to convince Anthony Davis to go against his personal better or preferred judgment to not play center. Right? It took us how many years to get Scotty to play in the post? How many more years is it going to take Anthony Davis, who is a much more decorated star than Scotty Barnes? He would be the best player on this team the second that you got him for the 30 games that you play him per season. He would be the best player.
He actually might be the most decorated player we ever in a Raptors jersey.
Yes, he would be.
Yeah.
Multi-time All-Star, he's
All NBA,
like routinely defensive player of the year nominations. Like
nominations. Yeah,
he's incredible. He's an incredible
Gold
player.
Winner multiple times.
He's aging, and the contract would not look good. So we're done with that. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. So my other argument was, yeah, exactly. He's the most efficient at the position. Is there's a I'm gonna talk about Batazi and all these types of guys all in one. I'm ignoring Sharp because Sharp is not a center. I've said he's not a center. He's not 7 feet. First of all, he's not a center. He's bigger. He's not a center. So doesn't really solve the problem. It just adds more like forward depth, if you will. And that is gonna run into issues with this specific coach. So my argument beyond, and then I want to hear what your thoughts are, is getting a backup is not the right way to go for this team. And the reason why is, number one, you haven't solved the guard issue. So anyone who's going to be better than Pirtle is, not going to be able to benefit without you having a proper non-quickly-esque offensive initiator. And the second thing, before I let you go crazier, is, to me, if I am looking at it this way, if you're getting a backup, that backup might be playing starting minutes because of Pirtle's back issues. Are you comfortable with that? Go for it.
Oh, yeah. I mentioned this in a podcast, but I'm in some ways, this conversation can be had now, can be had like 2 years ago, had 4 years ago. I'm actually just insulted that we have to have the conversation at all, because it's not as if this is a tweak where it's like, okay, I'm looking for a particular type of guard in this case here that could do this and that, or a forward could do this and that, or we're tweaking. These are like these are like the crater-like holes that we're talking about that any GM or any executive worth the grain of salt would have done solve this like years ago. For us to still have to have that discussion about a backup center in 2025, almost 26, that's embarrassing. But to answer your question, I mean, I would honestly, what I would like in this case, if they were to get just a young big, someone that could grow with this program, That when all these dudes get shipped out, we have something here and say, okay, this young big could be a rotation player, maybe a starting center in the future. That's what I like to see.
Any thoughts on this?
I didn't think Nick Nurse was actually using him as a point guard. So I wasn't, with all due respect, Blackhawk. I don't think that was the issue. And his
Bingo.
rookie,
Who used him as a point guard
the Joker is right now coaching his team.
for 2 years?
Yes, I don't
2
know.
years prior, we were complaining that Scotty Barnes wasn't getting the ball enough and wasn't
Right.
initiating offense. Not
Do
we.
they still
Sorry, I
watch
shouldn't say
games?
we, but there were people that were saying that. So
Yeah,
I would actually say it's more on Darko for feeding into
Darko.
his deepest desires, and then finally 2 years later, here
Yes.
we are. So
It's with all due respect,
no,
Blackhawk.
it's
Yeah.
not Nick Nurse.
No. When you watch the Nick Nurse years, all he was doing was pretty much hitting the boards. If he gets a fast break, they let him run wild that and hit the boards. With all respect, Blackhawk, man, I don't know what you're watching, man, because the last 2 years, only one coach has been doing this and telling them to throw up 12 threes a game. That's your boy Darko. He's the one telling them to run the point. That's your boy Darko. Ain't no one else telling us to do so. So I don't know where's this coming from all of a sudden.
And to add to that, it did not start under Nick Nurse.
It did not start.
In fact, I remember at the end of Fred VanVleet's tenure, because Fred VanVleet left the same year as Nick Nurse, it was actually, Scotty Barnes coyly saying, there was the talk of like, is he a point guard or not? Like that.
Right.
Should the offense be running more? And a lot of that started near the end of Nick Nurse's, because they thought, essentially, it's almost like the Terrence Ross point that I brought to you the other day to remind you, where it's like people saw Scotty Barnes, are like, should we be playing him more? Should we be running him more? I mean, some of those threads are now deleted now, and into the internet ethos, but there has been so much put about him being a point guard, him being, the next coming of whatever. Magic Johnson saying he's a little bit like me, blah, 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 and all this stuff about Scotty Barnes being a 6'9" point guard,
So
which primarily did start under Darko Rajakovic.
here's what Blackhawks getting at, I think, because you're just reminding me. You're right. That's the year of VanVleet made All-Star, right?
Yep.
Was that the year of VanVleet made All-Star? No, that can't be.
No, sorry, the year after. The year after,
right? That year
no, it wasn't the Philly. Yeah.
No.
The year of the Bulls game.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, what he's, I think, referring to, early in the season, Nick Nurse experimented for a few games of having to play point. Remember, VanVleet was off the ball, and for a little bit, for like about 2 weeks, and VanVleet's like, I don't know, VanVleet spoke to Nick Nurse because it wasn't going well. And everyone's saying, you know what, this ain't going well. So we went back to what we did before, and to your point, the pearl of it all came in there, and all of a sudden we were stopped in Malone for the rest of the season. It was nothing to do with that. In this case,
everyone else was on the side, yeah.
On the sidelines, right? So to his point with Nick Nurse saw that after 2 weeks and said, screw that, we're done. But the person that empowered him for point guard is your man Darko. Yeah. That's who did it.
So without getting too hung up on this, I think, yeah, that's I agree with you basically. So, but going back to my point of like, because Blackhawk and others have put out, whether it's Sharp, which I said no, and then it really the Goga and like guys like Aldama. Obviously, the question is can Aldama like hang with the bench? Yeah, of course he can. He'd be one of the best. Yes, but the question is does it solve the problems?
No, it doesn't solve the problems because just like Aldama, for example, Aldama's like a Porsche version of Mamu, right? It's like we already got the poor man's version of Aldama in some ways already, and it's like, okay, Aldama's not center.
No,
he's not really. So what we're looking at here is like
he is 7 feet, but he's like listed at like 230.
Yeah,
if you're gonna have him play, I mean, he could stretch the floor, but he's gonna get beat up too.
You're right. I think the reason why Sharp comes into the discussion is Sharp is actually has the physicality, even though he's shorter.
Yeah, he's 240.
To kind of bang around. So that's the reason why I think people rationalize Sharp, because at least from that perspective, he could bounce around some guys. But we should have been in this position in the first place because my man, our man Mel said so already. God forbid we had actually drafted a center in the last 2 seasons. Why we would be waiting around for this? But to me, if you're going to get someone, try to find a guy. In this case, it's a young guy that's just rotting on someone's bench, and maybe we could do something with him and put him in the rotation. That's why I would look for if they're going to go about doing this. I don't
So
know
you
who
have
picked that bill.
okay. So you don't have any names. Okay. Okay.
Well, let me put it this way. I'll put it this way. If you can find, I'm not saying necessarily this type of skill set, but I'm talking about the circumstance. So just relax when I say this name, because you're going to explode when I say this name. I just saw him yesterday. If you can find the scenario of like
Please don't
the
say
Mark.
Luke Cornett.
No. You're gonna love this one. If you can find the version of like who's like rotting to someone's bench, like how Marvin Bagley was, that's what you're looking for. And you think,
Oh,
okay, he's a prospect. Let's try it, right? Your man Wiseman, right? Like that's what you're looking at. Where it's like, okay, he's year 2 or 3, and they don't like him. Let's just take a flyer on him. That's what you gotta look at.
okay. Actually, I'm gonna use a name. It's not this person because I can't think of anyone. But here's a good example. Okay. You want the equivalent of what the Knicks did with Obi Toppin. So you want
So
to get the Pacers Obi Toppin.
yes, 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 yes. That's
That's
what
what
you're
you're
looking
looking for.
for. Right.
Time Lord, I've actually floated out on here, by the way. But the problem with Time Lord is dem knees, man. Dem
Say that
knees.
dude plays.
He does play.
like like the dude from Utah would be ideally fit into that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Kessler would fit into that criteria. In
Yes.
theory, he would be the who I would identify,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Now the question is, what you have to give up to get Kessler,
The other problem with Kessler is he's not really playing right now.
right?
He too is injured for like quite some time. So if you're looking for someone to help you right now,
I don't know. I think we're at the point right now, Kenyon, that
you just don't care. You're just
yeah,
like, just get
like
me a dude.
all of them are injured. Like at this point, like who's not injured? Like at this point here is like 6 guys are not injured in the league. Everybody else, especially they're over 6'10", they're all injured at this point. It seems like,
Mamu doesn't have the skill to play 3, by the way.
except for Jokic. God bless him. He's always healthy.
True. He has the size though to deal with the physicality,
Yeah.
and he himself is actually quite
Everybody
physical.
else, it's over 6'10". It's like,
So yeah, I mean it's yeah that's kind. I think we're at the same point where it's like just getting a backup big that's going to be a short term idea is just not going to help. I know that's I don't know if that's what Blackhawk meant, but I do like the sentiment a lot as you don't want another Patrick McCaw situation. Uh, you don't want another Patrick McCaw situation with the Time Lord. This is exactly my point. I
exactly.
don't want to be having someone who you're over relying on because the other guy is too injury prone, Pirtle that is, and you're having to over rely on this guy. Or vice versa, you're going to have a situation like Mamu where Blackhawk saying that he's going to play the 3 and he should not be playing the 3.
Hey, Blackhawk and the rest of the fellas, man, tell your boy there, Bobby, man, to draft a center next time. Try that out.
That would
Try
have
that
helped,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
At even the second round pick,
Second
people,
round.
there was three different. There was also taller guards, and we went for none of that. But yeah, um, yeah. So that's where I'm at. Is that I don't like band-aid solutions. I want a long-term solution. That's why like a guy like Derek Lively, if you're gonna make a move where say you're gonna trade Grady, because everyone seems to want to trade Grady. If you're trying to trade him and you're trying to get Derek Lively because Derek Lively is just not playing and you're adding in additional picks, I'm not saying the Mavericks would do it. My point is that is the type of target that I'm looking for,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? I want
Mm-hmm.
to be like Joe Dumars hunting out my center of the future, and I'm going to overpay for it, and maybe people are going to kill me at the time, but 2 years later or even 6 months later, people are like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have really, yeah, better protections would have helped, but yeah, maybe we shouldn't have really clowned him in the same way.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you. I hear you. I mean, yeah. I mean, I just think that what frustrates me with this conversation is that we just use the draft as an exercise just to hang out in New York. We don't seem to actually do anything, and then we try to clean up the mess like 3 months later. And I have everyone here on here asking, "Oh, we need a backup center." Like, no kidding, everybody. We needed one for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No good centers in the draft. Ryan Kalkbrenner said hello. And in terms of Time Lord, yeah, he's not 30, but his knees are about 50.
Right.
His knees are he plays less games than Anthony Davis. So
Mm-hmm.
there's this Time Lord is he would be great, but it is tough. But yeah, I said, well, you said no. I mean, to be fair, Hayuk or whatever, or Hayas, whichever. You did say that there were no good centers in the draft, and I'm just contending with the fact that Derek Queen, Newell has played and done well, et cetera, as well as in terms of the second rounder, there's Maxi Reynaud who is also
Okay,
now
see
playing.
this comment here?
So
It's
yeah,
like, guys, man, we can be better than this, man. We can
we
be better
can.
than this. We don't
Uh,
like this is a nuanced discussion. It's not throw out the baby with the bathwater because in this case here, if Kenyon said, you know what, in the first round, there's not a lot of centers out there. Fair enough. There wasn't a lot of centers. It doesn't mean you can't pick one in this case to play 20 minutes a night. My man Maxime out there doing work. I just saw him the other night playing.
yeah, I mean the honest truth is that well Maxine isn't good, but he's like it's his first year. Let's keep it
Yeah,
focused here. So
exactly.
I'm gonna cut this right now and get straight to the point. Sorry to cut you off,
No,
Bianca.
no,
Just
go ahead,
cut
man.
cut off this line of discussion that's really going nowhere. Is that Dan Tolzman hinted at when he was asked about why not a center? His answer was Chomchi. Chomchi's not here. So would you rather have Chomchi or sorry? Would you rather have Maxime Reynaud or no one? Would you rather have Maxime Reynaud and develop him up, or would you rather have Martin?
Carlson. Maybe that's what they want.
Well, I was gonna say Martin.
Martin, right? Martin. Another 6'2" guard. Fantastic.
Martin is not playing center for you. So I think that kind of stops that right there. I'm not trying to beat up on this point, but like it's like again, we're getting too caught up in the thing where we're not even having a nuanced discussion and kind of moving it along. So yeah. But anyway, so point is that the only other person that I've thought of who could work, but you probably have to pay or there's two other guys. John Collins doesn't really answer any things long term, but if you're looking for cap flexibility, cool. And then there's the other guy from the Clippers, which is Zubac. Zubac you're going to have to pay for, and if you're paying for Zubac, you're actually turning Pirtle into a backup, which is fine. He's better than Pirtle,
Ooh,
but yeah.
ooh, you driving through the wrong neighborhood in that one, my friend.
Yeah. This is one of those things where you can't go, you can't have champagne taste on a beer budget.
Good Kool-Aid money. No doubt. Big Z is like,
No,
oh no, let's stop.
yeah, no. You are going to have to overpay for that, and it's going to put you in a position where it's not going to be worth it. So regardless of them drafting a center or not, the point is that they don't really value the center. And what I'm trying to say, the whole point of this whole discussion, to kind of bring it full circle and nip a button it, is that I don't see any point in them doing something that is a band aid solution. I heard for years, because a couple years ago, with Chris Boucher's money and extra picks, I said, well, why don't we go for a guy like Wendell Carter Jr.? People said Wendell Carter Jr. can't play and he's trash. I think Wendell Carter Jr. would be a godsend right now.
Well, glad you know
So
what I mean. I'm glad to hear all those issues were just with Masai, so that's good to know.
true. We've solved it now under Bobby. And in terms of Daniel Gafford, again, I think he would help, but I don't want to get a backup because the back. I think we need to look long term.
Yo,
I,
Daniel
I I
Gafford's
want
on this team. He's starting. Okay.
that's my problem is like Daniel Gafford would be starting, and Daniel Gafford is not a higher level starting level center in my opinion. Would you agree or no?
No, I agree. I think if you supplement him with, well, he looks a lot better when he's playing beside AD. Then you can afford to have a center like that, right? But when you have a center like that, and then Scotty's your power forward, you're asking Scotty to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
You're still asking him to do a lot of work.
So in terms of like Blackhawk is basically his comment. People could read it. I'm not looking. He's basically asking, "What am I looking for a center?" I'll interpret it that way. I'm not looking for the ultimate be all center. I'm looking for by the way, Chomchi cannot come back. He needs to pass through medical testing, whatever with the league. So he is the league wide problem rather than a Raptors problem. So yeah, and uh, this is again missing the point. What I want in a center, and I think beyond you would agree, is that I want a long term solution. It doesn't
There
have
you
to
go.
be the second coming of Shaquille O'Neal. It has to be someone who is going to basically supplant Pirtle because Pirtle's back is not going to hold up for the next 2 3 years,
I
regardless of
would
whether
agree.
you're trying to contend or trying to rebuild. I have a
I
couple
like
other
Blackout
topics,
to
but
pose
yeah.
this question. Yeah, I like Blackout to pose that question. In this case, the Raptors Twitter account, and we'll see what their response will be. Because I'd love to know what they think about that previous question he had. Because for it put to us as if we're the ones talking to the Raptors. The Raptors are the ones that they want in this case the second coming of Shaquille O'Neal, not us.
Correct.
We're not.
Correct.
Because
I
how
mean,
they treat.
it's yeah.
Yeah, like we're not the ones saying so. It's like the Raptors are the ones put themselves in this position as if it's like their stuff don't stink, and it's like, oh no, they're not type of center for us. It's
Right.
like okay, excuse
Right.
me.
And it's like, yeah, like, yeah, I don't think giving up Ochai and stuff sounds that horrible. It doesn't, but I don't even know if that deal's out there. That's the problem.
Oh
So,
boy, I don't know.
um, moving on, I saw a report that the Bucks are ready to buy, just to shift things along.
Huh,
Because we can talk about Raptor centers and debate about like this person, that person. Goga Batazzi is the answer for all, as if they're going to even trade him. But yeah. Yeah, Bucks center. Sorry, Bucks are ready to buy. My first question is with what, but your thoughts.
well, all that tells me is that pretty much my man from Greece pretty much told like, oh man, y'all better fix this real soon, okay? That's what happened.
Yeah,
That's what happened.
yeah.
That's
Basically,
what
so you don't think he's going anywhere?
No, he pretty much told it, dude. He kind of came out there with his publicist saying the kind of that, hinting at that. And the other part, he probably went back and said, dude, don't you think you're going to get slick with me, okay? We in this together, all right? So we Thelma and Louise, we going off this cliff together. So go get me someone that can play. That's what I told me. That's what I told me. Because the thing is, it's not so simple to move off of Giannis. Because the moment you move off of Giannis, all them dudes got to go. Portis,
Yep.
all of them got to move. Everyone's gonna be
Well,
looking at their bags.
the other issue is that again, like getting all their picks. It's not like the net situation where one team had all of their picks and then it's easy. Like them getting all their picks back, like they could get their pick from this year if they traded him to like Atlanta, but they really don't have control over their over a first round draft pick until 2032 or 2031 or something like that. It's in the 2030s. It's a long time. So I've always thought that it's going to be very tough for them to trade, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the easiest pathway because you're going to have a man that's going to be very desperate to win throughout.
Well, this is going back to our previous conversation, but this is the psychology of when you see certain teams. We have a team right now that's 4 games over 500, talk about rebuilding. We have a team now that's about 4 or 5 games under 500 saying, yo, man, we throwing all the chips in because they have a guy. They have a dude. When you have a dude, it makes life real simple. Throw the chips in, take the wristwatch off, and toss that into, and we play our hand. We out here trying to bluff folks like, yeah, we might be going in, so and so forth. No, dude, I ain't even no poker player, but even I know that. It's like, dude, you ain't bluffing nobody.
So
And the
calling
Raptors,
or holding, or
well,
calling.
they're holding in this case here, and they're trying to call. They're trying to make people call. It's like, dude, you ain't making anyone call. Ain't no one running. Ain't no one scare your hand.
Yeah.
You don't scare your, and then you show your hand pretty much by saying we're rebuilding now. And so to see how Milwaukee's approaching this, where it's like, oh, we're literally now out or about to be out of the play-in, if they aren't already, but we're still throwing all the chips in. In some ways, I appreciate the moxie. I like it. It's like, I don't know, to your point, where the flexibility is and what they got to move that they could get them what they want. I mean, they need some perimeter scoring. I don't know where they're getting it from and what they can give up. And to your point, the cupboard's bare with the draft pick. So, like, I don't know who is it unless they're willing to give up Portis because he's the only thing with getting something.
It's the only thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're giving up Portis. I don't think Giannis wants Portis going.
I think they're if they trade Giannis, they're hoping that they can do a package deal with Kuzma. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. He ain't doing too bad this year.
No, he's not. But he tossed up a game where he literally put up almost like 0 points.
Well, you can get one of those with Kuzma every once in a while.
True. It's true. It's true.
It's in the fine print. I can imagine Doc's reaction. You're gonna Sam Mitchell special, boy. 0, 0, 0, 0.
Oh my goodness. So Yeah, so I could see them trying. I'm not sure exactly what they do, but yeah, like we'll see.
Yeah.
The Lakers obviously they're rumored to be looking for a 3 and D wing player. Maybe that's your Ochai deal. I don't. Again, I'm not looking at the Lakers roster right now, but maybe they have an end of whatever. They really don't care about picks and trading future picks, although their current second rounder is owned by us. So there's not really a 2026 second from the Lakers that you could get, but there is something there just from a Raptor standpoint, and also just in general, they are looking for 3 and D wings. So be on the
Well, then,
lookout for the Lakers for that.
so unfortunately with Ochai in this case here, you have to convince the Lakers that Ochai is a better player than Vanderbilt. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case.
They're different players, to be fair.
Yeah, but I would say in this case Vanderbilt. I mean, the three part is a little rough for him, but Ochai ain't saying much either with the three part. And at least Vanderbilt can D. Ochai
Vanderbilt
is
can D for sure.
that's what I'm saying. He got that part down. Ochai ain't got either part down. Is my point. And he's 3 inches shorter. So I don't know how you're selling that to LA. If that's the problem with Ochai. We're trying to sell him as a 3 and D wing when he's not a 3 and D wing. He meets none of the three criteria. He doesn't have the height to be a wing. He doesn't shoot like a three. Shoot the three that you should be, and you don't play defense well enough to be
No.
a guy that you can sell as that.
So yeah, I agree. I'm not here to like pick all the targets for the
No,
Lakers,
no,
but
no.
the
I'm saying
point
from the
is
Raptors.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think just in terms of the Lakers in general, like I think I can see why they're looking for this particular piece to kind of round things out. They're not looking for like a big swing right now, but just kind of marginal moves to kind of make maintain their position in the West
Mm-hmm.
as the season goes on. So yeah, Wemby has returned. That game was amazing. I said in my short, I was wrong. I thought that OKC would beat them. The Spurs came back from 16 down, and I wouldn't say they whooped, but they beat the Thunder. The Thunder couldn't execute down the stretch well enough to beat the other team, and unfortunately, them's the breaks. I think what's interesting is Wemby doesn't put a lot of respect towards Chet Holmgren. Don't know if you saw those interviews, but he kind of like focused primarily on Shea being on the Thunder.
Can I say that? See, I told us the Spurs fans last summer about how he's a top 10 player when the season ended. He's
Yeah,
arguably outside of whoever I root for in this case here. He is definitely on my favorite players list. He might be one of my short list of favorite players, like top
100%.
three easily. I love me some Big Vic here. And that dude is old school, man. God bless him. I love him. And he was the best player on the floor. Best player on the floor, clearly. The stats they had with him on the floor, him off the floor were like ridiculous. I would say, Chet's a fine player, man. But I think Wimby's trying to say everybody a lot when Tiger Woods to get asked about Phil Mickelson. It's like, really?
Yeah.
That's how it feels like a little bit like, really?
Yes, I respect it because it's just like, listen, man. Like, even when he came, yeah, sometimes as a leader, it's good to be, the team is good and blah blah blah, and we're us the team. But then sometimes it's like yesterday they said, well, what is one of the biggest differences? He said, well, I came back, right? He's like, I gave us fresh legs. And then he said, oh, also, Devin was sending his shots. This guy was doing this, but he's just like, like, yeah, it was me.
That dude's built different, man. We talk about going back to the betas and alpha type of thing. That's what we're talking about. Like, that dude's built different, man.
Yeah.
And you look at that Shea boy, you go, that's the crown I'm looking for. I ain't worried about with Chet. You give me a break, man. You're insulting me. Give me a break. You got the top 10 players. Look at the top dog. You ain't know your Chet. Come on
Yes.
now.
So much respect there. I think that's good. So yeah. So overall, like those the NBA Cup so far has been a lot of fun. I think the games have been competitive. I think even the players seem to like it, and I think part of it has to do with the broadcast crew and how they're interacting with the players. Any final thoughts on that?
Hey man, I think once again, it's something that we're seeing more and more. As mentioned, my dad, we had an interesting conversation yesterday about it.
Mm.
That and my buddy in this case here, that you see, leadership sets the tone. Don't let anyone fool you about that, folks. And now
Yeah.
that Amazon and NBC are kind of like co-leads in some ways, their voice and their way they comport themselves and how they handle the games is slowly permeating itself through the basketball diet, ecosystem. And here's a perfect example of the point I made to those guys when I was talking to them on the weekend about it. A year ago, if this Chris Paul situation broke off with the Clippers, that would be nonstop going on TNT for a few weeks. ESPN would be in the lead thing. It would be nonstop every day.
Good point.
When those guys came on, Blake Griffin, arguably, obviously, former Clipper, play with the man, know the organization. Said his piece about it, well said, gave both sides of it, said his disappointment with Ballmer as the owner, respect it, done. Nip in the bud, we move on. NBC, I don't even think even mentioned it. And it would end up being a 1 day, 2 day story at most. If this was the Jokers over there on the worldwide network, we'd be still talking about this a week later. And I think that's the difference where we're seeing with these guys running things and the Jokers that we used to have previously running things.
Yeah, I think this is a great point. A really great point that you just made. And just in terms of how the broadcast is changing and whatnot. Daniel asks, the Raptors problem. Do the Raptors have a true leader? The Raptors play very emotional, is the way that I would describe it. So when they're in some ways they're kind of front runners as a team. So and this goes back to and even you see it with the sentiment throughout the overall fan base. Someone got mad at me and said, "Don't tell me how to be a friend." I'm not telling you how to be a fan. I'm actually making an observation, and my observation is that as a fan base, we do tend to be a little bit of front runners.
I'll say this:
we like to go into other fan spaces or other fans' things, and there's a tendency to kind of dunk on people, and then it's like I don't understand why we do it. I don't mind talking about the Raptors. I'm not here to go and diss a whole bunch of other teams and players and stuff like that. But that's just me. So yeah.
They have a leader. Is number 4, Scotty Barnes, is their leader. Not only is he paid to be the leader, they have promoted him, and he's also willing to accept to be the leader. And when you're the leader, is the reason why I was out on him a week ago when they played Charlotte and they put up that dud, and he was a no-show. That's what the leader does. It's like they grab him by the scruff of the neck and say, "We are not losing this game." He is the leader. Sorry to say, some of the characteristics my co-host or my colleague here had said, some of it is permeated in him as well too. And you go as he goes. He is a very emotional player. We are an emotional team. We hit a buzzer beater.
He's not necessarily playing with Mamba mentality, to your point.
No, and funny enough, I said it at the time. I'm thinking on my couch when it happened. When they hit that jump shot against Indiana, the game winner, and they're out there carrying on like they won the title. And like I swore balloons and ticker tape parade was gonna come down here. I sat there on my couch and said, like, these dudes ain't ready, man. These dudes really ain't ready. That was like game 18 of the season they're carrying on. You know they won one game since then? One game since then.
Yes.
Portland. Okay, folks, you think your boy just be out here just
they barely won Portland, by the way.
They barely won Portland. They think out here slandering? No, man. As my uncle used to say, I don't watch basketball. I follow basketball, okay? I ain't just sitting around here just kind of twiddling my thumbs. I watch that. I watch how they carry on. Scotty out there woofing his chest and stuff, all this stuff, and they're out there ready to raise Brandon Ingram up to the rafters and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, this is what we doing, okay? All right, okay.
Can you imagine if we won the NBA Cup?
Oh
I thought we were going to win the NBA Cup.
Imagine we beat the Knicks. Never mind going there.
Oh, true. Well, I mean, we would have had to beat the Knicks to get there. To be fair,
I was saying they had the balloons coming on the confetti going to Vegas.
Yeah,
you had to wait to Vegas. That would happen for sure.
Yes,
like this is the immaturity I'm talking about as a team, man. They ain't ready for this, folks.
No, and it's not to say that they won't be, but ultimately you have to start moving forward as a team and move forward into the future. And I think that the key thing is that yes, there are steps. Yes, Darko, you are early on. You are not 2 years into a rebuild. So you got a $40 million man in the summer, but you have to be fair and whatnot. So yeah.
RJ, when you coming back, my man? That's what.
Yeah. It's good point, James. So yeah, again, I'm really trying to get away from this, but this is the last thing I'll make on this. So Blackhawk is basically saying that he doesn't want a Superman center. He doesn't want the ultimate center on his team. He wants someone to do all of these things. So he wants a rim protector who can also work in the pick and roll, set good screens, and switch 2 through 5 and more feet on the perimeter. He doesn't care about a lob threat though. So you could take that out of all of the skill sets that he wants. You could take that skill set out.
Well, what you described pretty much was with Asa Newell.
Yeah.
Exactly. With the lob threat. You get bonus extra toppings.
You can also shoot the three, by the way. What I will say though is the problem is that some of the names that you mentioned don't do that. So Santi Aldama does not do that. Goga Batazzi does not switch 2 through 5.
Right.
That's the problem with it. Like Daniel Gafford is not switching 2 through 5. He can maybe work the pick and roll a little bit. Right. We don't really have a guard outside of Quickly who works the pick and roll with any regularity, and I don't want Quickly working the pick and roll either. So again, my whole point is that you're missing skill sets. My random thought is, what about getting, if the Raptors could maintain right now, but do some sort of consolidation and go for like a guy like, say, Darius Garland? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, obviously it's an upgrade at the point guard position, and so that's at least we'll have an offense that's organized in the half court. He actually could get his own shot. He actually could finish around the hoop. He's a very good free throw shooter, and he can knock down threes too, pretty high clip. And you don't have to make the right pass. Yeah, that would be nice to have. And even defensively, he's probably better than what we have at point guard right now.
Now, some people do think he is a little injury prone. I do want to go through this very quickly and just show, yes, he's had some times where he plays less games, but he's also had, like last year, he played 75 games. And within the new era of like, you got to play 65 games or more, this is like the perfect, I wouldn't say the perfect, but like this is like the bare minimum of what you're looking for. He's still relatively young. He's right in his prime. But the other thing is that a lot of his injuries are like weird, random, like I got my eye poked out kind of a thing, or an elbow in the eye. Like that's.
We do that.
We did do that twice actually. So I can't hold like eye gouges against him. But overall, he's been like, I mean, if you're playing 60, I'll say that 6-7 games for those of you. It's not for the older folks, but yeah, if you're playing around that, I mean, in an 82 game season, I think you're doing all right. So, I think that would be interesting. But overall, again, I think that he's expensive, Daniel. I agree, but he's only like $3 million more, $4 million more a year than Quickly, and he's two-time All-Star.
That's embarrassing for even having to say that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So to cap this all off, especially the center topic that I talked about much more than I wanted to, is you can't go and have champagne taste on a beer budget, and I don't want any more beer. I would like to, even if it means that we got to learn how to make champagne. You make champagne. 2027. Daniel, I agree with you. 2027, 45 million. That is a lot. At the end of the day, while that is a lot of money, the cap is going up, and that's 2027. I would still take Darius Garland over Emmanuel Quickly if it's possible.
You see the money that guys like Kuminga get in the next year or two, you're gonna be like, what?
I don't think Kuminga's gonna get that money. I mean, Kuminga technically already is locked into his money, so
yeah, he's locked in. But when
we've actually seen a market correction of sorts. But sorry, you were saying.
No. I guess he's a bad example. When we see some of these young guys coming out for their deals, 45 million is gonna look like pocket change, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, I will get to that point. That's a very good point, and we'll address in just a second. So, just for reference, Suggs, I really like. I think he would be great. In year 2 of Suggs onwards, I've been like Suggs would be great. But my whole thing is that Suggs, if we're to James's point of injury prone, Suggs is very injury prone because he's very physical with his driving. He's not very crafty in the same sense as Garland, and so there is that. But my whole thing is that if they were going to go for a Garland to maintain flexibility, it would have to be part of a bigger move where you're basically locking into like Scotty, It'd be Scotty Darius if you're maintaining Scotty Darius, and you know Brandon Ingram for now. Brandon Ingram's up in 2 years anyways, so that is right around the time of the 45 million. So you're fine. But in terms of Suggs' contract, yeah, it's a much better contract. You mentioned someone. You mentioned the numbers, and I think this is a good kind of ending off point. And thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate it. Here's what I'll say in terms of that. I look at it this way. I think there's a market correction that has happened. And I think that that's going to maintain until 2028 when there's a new CBA. Because you saw it with Kaminga. You saw it even with Giddy.
Yeah, he's what I was thinking of when you mentioned that, yeah.
Right? You saw it with, there's a few other guys. You saw even guys like Cam Thomas, who's like, I mean, he will be on the market next year, but I do not think that the money's going to be there for him.
I think Zach Levine's another guy's going to end up paying the price.
Yeah, Bobby he left cap school a little bit too early.
That's your man, guys. Come on now.
And so I think the key thing is, teams are really going to be very mindful about how they use their cap, and you're not going to see unless you're a Raptors team for whatever reason. And no, it's not because we're Toronto. I think it just sometimes we've had GMs that like to throw out money, like Bobby. And so there is something to be said where some of these contracts aren't going to work out, and I think some of these teams are learning. A good example, Pat Williams. That's $19 million per year, and what came out right after? Yeah, we had to give him the contract so that he would work harder. That's not good.
Yeah, I tell you, man. What there at Reinsdorf, boy. When you got to part with that money for a fella he don't want to part with, boy, he make sure you got to pay for it in the papers, boy. Let me tell you that.
He'll make it clear.
Oh boy, with that.
Any final thoughts about the NBA at large or the standings or anything like that? Your Pacers, they lost yesterday against the
Wizards. My Pacers. It's my cousin's Pacers, but they always got a soft spot for Pascal and the Canadian fellas.
Me too.
It was yeah. I mean, Washington's actually been playing half decent, at least like almost a competitive basketball team the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, that was a bad loss, whatever way you say it. That one did not have scratched up, but overall they've been playing pretty well lately. They had a letdown an afternoon Sunday game. I don't know if folks wanted to go watch the Colts play, but that was a rough loss. But I think they're still in a position that they're going to be the play-in by the time. I wouldn't be surprised by the time we get around mid-January, they're in the play-in spot. So,
well, if they're not in the play-in by January, it's over.
Depends.
They have 6 wins right now. The Bulls, who are trying to hang on to that, like I'm sniffing the play-in range, have 10 wins.
Yeah.
And then above that is 11, and below that, I mean, if we lose tonight, we're in the 10th spot at 15. They're not catching 15 wins.
Well, we're in the 10th spot, 15.
If we lose tonight,
yeah,
we're gonna move down.
Well, we're in the 9th spot right now, right? Oh, okay.
We're in. Okay. So I'm gonna show it right now. Actually.
Yeah, I know we're close. I think we're in the. Right. So there we are.
If Miami wins.
Right.
Because it's based on your winning percentage. Look what happened to the Raptors.
Gotcha.
You bought all the way because all of these teams move above you.
Right.
So you become the line of demarcation.
You become the line of demarcation. Yes.
Right. So you're like I guess you could say the 9th spot or potentially the 10th spot.
10th spot. Yes.
And all I'm saying is that tripling their win total is kind of tough.
Yeah. I would say this. Fair enough. Yeah. So they have like about maybe 4 weeks to kind of make ground in this case that they want to get there. They have to start getting the double digit in wins.
They have to rip off 2 really strong wins. Or sorry, 2 really strong weeks where they're like, they have their like, they basically need like a 5 to 10 game winning streak to really keep it seriously alive.
Yeah, they need a 4 or 5 game winning streak to get back into the mix. At least be around like past the Bulls area where they start sniffing the Bulls and Bucks area, and then the next winning streak would be coming for the Raptors at that point, or whomever else is in that spot.
Yeah, whoever
Um,
else is there.
yeah.
Daniel says the Raptors won't lose. We'll see. It is Miami. I believe they are playing in Toronto though. I think. Um,
Well, Wiggins does
so
like to show up for the home crowd, so
Wiggins does like to show up for the home crowd. That is true.
yeah, so
Um, it
be
is
wary.
actually sorry. It's at Miami.
They're not Miami. Oh, they tend to play pretty well, Miami, so they
They
can make
do
competitive
because
points.
Scotty Barnes is his hometown. So
There we
it's
go.
going to be a good back and forth game. Scotty Barnes actually does play good in Miami. That's a good point. Um, yeah. Thoughts?
What's the over under Spo putting the zone on them? What 10 minutes on the zone?
That's that's the question. I don't know if Pirtle's playing tonight or not. But either way, I hope that Darko starts playing CMB more. And we'll see what happens with this rebuilding coach. So yeah.
No, 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 no,
Um,
no, 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 no! Don't you do it! Don't you do it! Don't you do it! Don't let it permeate. There ain't no rebuild, folks. Okay, don't you don't you
hey,
take the talking points. Don't
he
rebuild.
said it. I'm just going with what the Raptors brass is saying. So
No, man.
people, it's I think we've done a pod. I think the game is going to start in half an hour, so that gives me enough time to do some of my homework that I have been much needing, and
It's,
all that, and let this family man get back to his family. Like, comment, and subscribe. This has been a pod and a half almost, and you will probably not see me for a little bit, but once you are seeing me, you are going to see me quite a lot moving forward. So take care, people. Peace, and um, check out the link in the description. And so yeah, take care, everyone, and thanks for joining.
it's